In Satisfactory, you can create sync coupons from the Awesome Sync by feeding items into it. And these sync coupons can be used to buy items like a coffee cup. It can also be used to buy lots of individual items that you would need for completing the game. Basic items such as iron plates all the way up to some of the higher tier items. I want to see how many sync coupons do you need to complete the game if you bought absolutely everything that you could. Obviously, to begin with, I need to get some of the items myself. I need to complete the first few milestones myself rather than buying the items from the sync. I thought though that as part of this challenge I do have to do that, and I have to try and beeline unlocking the Awesome Sync. It took a lot of time trying to get all the items that I needed, all the ore and limestone, and make that into whatever I needed to be able to unlock the Awesome Sync. Finally, I got there. And with building the Awesome Sync and the Awesome Shop, I can finally get started on this challenge. I did have to edit in a whole bunch of items to actually get sync coupons in the first place. My thought was I could sync lots of iron ore and some very basic items to start getting the coupons, but I thought that that would take a really long time, so by getting in some other items, just by cheating it in the game, I can just start generating the sync coupons. Now with that underway, I can start having a look at what items I can buy. So you can obviously buy lots of things in the Awesome Shop that make building a lot easier, but I'm mainly looking at the parts. And the only parts that you can buy are what you've unlocked at that time. So you can't, however, buy space elevator parts. You can buy the items you need to make those space elevator parts, but not the actual parts themselves. Now that I've unlocked the reinforced iron plates and rotors, I can now buy 50 of each to make the 50 smart plating. I've got a counter there in the bottom right that says exactly how many sync coupons I have used. You can see there that you can buy 100 rotors at a time, and I only need the 50, so I do use some of these parts as time goes on for other things. I do end up with just a few bits and pieces left over. I could also significantly reduce the number of coupons needed by slooping everything, but I wanted to do this challenge without having to sloop anything at all, so it's as clean as possible. And with that, that is phase 1 completed. The 50 smart plating that needs 50 reinforced iron plates and 50 rotors. So it's good to finally get that out the way with. For the next phase, you need 1,000 smart plating. So it's easy enough just to buy the 1,000 reinforced iron plates and rotors, and then just put that into an assembler and let it churn away while I do the other bits and pieces. I can get the smart plating underway. I've got all of the reinforced iron plates and the rotors, so that's easy enough just to keep ticking along. Now I need to figure out how best to do the versatile framework. The items that you need to buy from the Awesome Shop are not just the parts in order to complete the game, the space elevator parts, it's also to unlock the different milestones. So I've got modular frames, rotors, concrete and wire that I need to buy. Now I can have a look at what I need for the versatile framework. So it's one modular frame and 12 steel beams that makes 2 versatile frameworks, and I need 1,000 in total, so it's going to be a lot of buying. The cart has space for only 30 stacks of items, so sometimes you do have to buy a bunch, take it out and then buy the rest. In theory I could probably buy all of the steel beams and modular frames that I need for all of the versatile framework across the whole of the game. The Satisfactory wiki says it's 5,390 versatile framework that you need, but I thought best way of doing it is to just build what I need to for this particular phase and then just keep adding the parts as the phases go on, and then it doesn't get too complicated. The next thing to unlock is the automated wiring, and that's in advanced steel production. So I need the steel pipes, modular frames, rotors and concrete to unlock it in the first place. Just to help with playing this game and getting through some of these stages a bit quicker, I have got the mod that speeds up time. In theory I could also just build more assemblers, but I thought it was easier just having everything go into one place. But I now have the ability to make automated wiring, which is 1 stator and 20 cables per automated wiring, so now I need to buy a lot of cable. It's interesting that by the time of completing phase 2 I have used 223 Fix-It coupons. I thought it wouldn't be quite as much as that, but I know that later on you end up using a lot of coupons because the items cost a lot more. To keep an accurate number of how many sync coupons I had used, I still wanted to be able to unlock some of the other things, such as having faster belts, so I used the advanced game settings to give me the items, and therefore it didn't impact anything when it came to sync coupons. The idea behind doing that is so I could unlock the MAM as well, and therefore I could collect power slugs and make the machines work faster by researching the power shards. After a lot of time, phase 2 was finally done. So I got that sent on its way, and I could work on what was needed for phase 3. First of which was versatile frameworks, yet again, just more of them. So needed to collect all of the modular frames and steel beams for that. In this I have to buy 75 stacks of steel beams, so it was easier just to buy 3 lots of 25 stacks, and therefore that would give me everything I needed to make the versatile frameworks. Next step is unlocking the modular engines. I didn't realise until after buying all of these parts and putting it in that I needed plastic, which I hadn't unlocked. So I had to unlock that thing first, and then I could go for the modular engines. Fortunately, all I had to do was unlock oil processing. I didn't need to put down any oil refineries or anything like that, and doing that meant I could then have plastic. But here I've got the modular frames. I'm buying here all the parts for the modular engines now. The one part I can't buy is the smart plating, so I've got to get enough reinforced iron plates and rotors to be able to get the smart plating underway. I also had to build a lot of storage containers to store the items to put into the assemblers and manufacturers, etc. But I didn't have the industrial storage because that would require unlocking it, therefore require using sync coupons to do that. Fortunately, by having that set up there, it does mean that the smart plating and modular engines are ready for when I make the thermal propulsion rockets and the ballistic warp drives. Now it's time to think about the adaptive control units. This does start to get a little bit more complicated, such as the fact that I need computers, which I hadn't unlocked, so I need to go and unlock that now. Just getting some computers that I need for the adaptive control units. Also getting some stators and cables that I need for the automated wiring that goes into the adaptive control units. And now that I've got all of those items, it's just a case of putting them into the machines and waiting for all the parts to be created and inputted into the space elevator. Finally, phase 3 is done. So I can get that sent on its way, and I can start having a look at what the next parts I need are. So bauxite refinement, because you need a whole bunch of aluminium, so I can get that on its way, and then control system development as well, and that will give me more of the individual parts that I need for the space elevator. At this point I did actually also research the drones, because I wanted to try and get some items be delivered from far away, but then I thought I can just use belts. So I did actually buy some items for the drones, but I'm not including them in how many coupons I need. Getting some more items here that you need aluminium for, and The leading edge production milestone that I'm unlocking here allows me to get the thermal propulsion rockets. Fortunately, the price of the items doesn't go up as you buy more items, otherwise it would take a heck of a lot more sync coupons. But I'm just checking here that I've got everything that I need, that there's nothing left over. You can see a few mods in there, but yeah, I'm not getting any of those. So hopefully everything else that I haven't researched are all things that I don't need. What I didn't realise though was that I needed quick-wire to unlock the particle enrichment milestone, and you have to unlock quick-wire using the MAM tree. So I had to go and quickly get some Caterium and bring it back to unlock quick-wire. So now I've got quick-wire unlocked, I can buy the 2,500 quick-wire that I need for particle enrichment. Fortunately it doesn't cost too much, it's only 10 sync coupons, so not breaking the bank there. But I was running out of sync coupons, so I needed to have a look at the ballistic warp drives and try and get a few more into the awesome sync, and I realised this was happening here, it's just part of a mod, but I thought that was a bit funny. I spawned in a lot of ballistic warp drives just to get them in. I could have built more awesome syncs and spawned in sync coupons, but I didn't think about that until later. Now I need a lot of adaptive control units and supercomputers to make into assembly director systems. Fortunately I can just buy the supercomputers straight from the shop, so that's not a problem. After buying all of the supercomputers, I bought the circuit boards that I need for the adaptive control units. Unfortunately I then ran out of coupons and couldn't buy anything more, so I did build some more syncs. There was quite a bit of time in between me not thinking about building more syncs and this moment here, but yeah, I figured I need to get a lot more ballistic warp drives in. I had to speed up the time to get the ballistic warp drives in a bit quicker because I couldn't unlock the belts that are faster because I would have to buy more items and I didn't want to have anything left over. I realised though I've got this flex mod that allows me to create really long belts. It's just for some other projects I was working on. What it does mean though is that I don't have to spend any items in creating these faster belts, and it meant there you are, I could get the ballistic warp drives in a lot quicker and really ramp up the amount of sync coupons I was getting. Getting some heavy modular frames for the adaptive control units. They're surprisingly cheap for how much effort actually goes into making heavy modular frames, so that's quite handy. And I ran out of coupons, but you can see how quickly they were being created there. Some computers as well for the adaptive control units, and they can near enough be started. The problem is I need to get some automated wiring. So Stators is easy enough, but trying to get the cable, because you can only buy 30 stacks at once, it was an absolute pain trying to get all of the cable. So I've just spent ages here just getting all the bits of cable, but I'm showing it all because then I can carry on the counter. You can see on the right there that I need 100,000 cable just to make the 5,000 automated wiring. Occasionally I accidentally bought one stack of cable, so I just had to buy the remaining stacks so I could have an equal number, just so it's a bit easier to keep track of. I did have to do this many times over, but yeah, eventually got there. Because of the amount of cable that I needed to put in, it was useful for me to create some faster belts to get it all in, because otherwise it would take forever for the automated wiring to be created. I did have to build a very huge stack of containers that you'll see in a moment and have them all connected with the conveyor lifts. I've got another mod that adds 300 inventory spaces. If I didn't have that mod, then this whole process would take a really long time. I mean, it took a long time as it was anyway, but I think I eventually got to the amount of cable that I needed. I don't have the complete 100,000 in my inventory, but that's because some of it is in the storage containers already. Getting some bits and pieces for the versatile frameworks that you need, and this then needs a lot of steel beams, not too many modular frames, but I can then use that to make thermal propulsion rockets. So I've got fused modular frames, cooling system and some turbo motors there. Got that all in, get it all being made into thermal propulsion rockets, and I can get that belted into the space elevator. One thing I do need though for it is smart plating. Just getting some rubber here as well that I need for the modular engines. I can get all of that in and then finally get what I need for the smart plating, the reinforced iron plates and rotors. So now I've got all of that, it's all being belted in. I can then get what I need for nuclear pasta, which does require a lot of copper powder. But that's everything ready to complete phase 4. The only thing is I just need to let it run for a little while, probably at max speed with the mod, and finally I can have phase 4 completed. There was something strangely cathartic about doing this, in that I'm not creating this huge massive factory that sprawls across the whole world. I'm just doing it in a really small part of this rocky desert. And it's a bit strange really that you can use sync coupons to complete the game. Obviously trying to create over 3,000 so far will take a lot of effort, and you're probably better off just playing the game as normal. But anyway, there's phase 4 completed. Pressure conversion cubes don't cost as much as I thought they would. You get 50 in each stack and they only cost 8. But I'm getting a whole bunch of copper powder here as well, because I need to set up some nuclear pasta. There's quite a bit of copper powder that I do need to get, so I'm glad I've got the mod that gives me 300 extra inventory spaces. Fortunately though, once I've got all of this copper powder, I can just put it into a whole bunch of storage containers and just let it run for the rest of the game really. Weirdly enough, nuclear pasta isn't one of these items that you have to make from space elevator parts. It is made from items that you have to make elsewhere in the game, which is why I can buy both the pressure conversion cube and the copper powder at the shop. Just unlocking the next milestone here, the matter conversion and also quantum encoding, because I need that to get the last bits of the space elevator parts. And it was around this time that I realised that you can't buy any SAM products from the shop. I suppose it does make sense because the SAM ore is an alien material, so it's only something that you would discover when you're here rather than something that Fixit would be able to make from other planets. I had to get some SAM ore coming in to make reanimated SAM and SAM fluctuators, so I needed to buy the parts for that. But I had also needed to unlock SAM fluctuators in the Awesome Shop, which is why I bought the steel pipes and the wire just earlier. You can see there I have created several constructors, but because I haven't unlocked mergers and splitters, and I don't need to unlock it in order to complete the game, I could only really have one constructor. However, I could try and get as much output as possible from that constructor because I need quite a bit of reanimated SAM and SAM fluctuators. In theory, I could have brought in more SAM ore from other veins, but I didn't think about that at the time. It would have made things a lot easier for me. I needed those SAM fluctuators for spatial energy regulation to get the final bits. I've got some fixed site trigons here that I need as well. I need those for the biochemical sculptors, which aren't too difficult to make. I just need those trigons, a whole bunch of water, and then the assembly director systems that I'd already set up for the previous phase. However, I realised here that I don't even have pipes unlocked or water extractors, so I had to get some bits and pieces here to unlock coal power, which will allow me to get some water in for the biochemical sculptures. So weirdly enough, that's the only time that you need water to complete the game. You do need pipes, however, for the dark matter residue, but yeah, otherwise for water, it is just the biochemical sculptures that you need. So I've got a blender here making those, and the water will just steadily pump its way in. and I can get some of those on the way. Also, weirdly enough, supercomputers and superposition oscillators don't really cost a lot for how many you get and the amount of things that you need to do to even just make one in the first place. At least for the assembly director systems, you just need supercomputers and adaptive control units. And for some reason I have a whole bunch of computers in my inventory, which I think I bought when trying to make some previous adaptive control units and maybe miscalculated it. But at least I could use it there for that lot of assembly director systems. Getting some heavy modular frames, circuit board, stators and cable to make some of the other bits and pieces. These are all the items that you need for lower tiers of that space elevator part. So here, automated wiring, which you need a heck of a lot of cable for, although I don't think you need quite as much as you do for the previous phase. Either way, getting my AI expansion servers, got dark matter residue there, so I just need to figure out exactly how many I need. And weirdly enough, those AI expansion servers are going to leave me with a bunch of items left over because you need 256, which, yep, it's a number that is important when it comes to binary, but it's not so great because I can't buy specifically 256 of those items. You would have to buy 250 or 300. But either way, it doesn't matter. I'm going to have some left over, unfortunately. But just getting my excited photonic matter in place. And because I don't have anywhere for the dark matter residue to go to, I've got to pipe it out into those fluid tanks and then empty it every so often. I wasn't going to try and find some sort of way to get maximum efficiency and pipe it back in somehow. But it's easy enough just for me to flush it away, no problem. Finally getting what I need for the ballistic warp drives, which once again, once you buy the items, it isn't really that difficult to set up. You just need quite a bit of certain items such as the rubber here. But yeah, it's simple enough. Got plenty of rotors and reinforced iron plates to make smart plating. And effectively that is almost it. I do need to get some dark matter crystals there because I need to use that for the singularity cells that go into the ballistic warp drives, but otherwise it's not too far off. Do need to buy a lot of concrete and iron plates though, which is a bit unusual at this stage of the game. Had to make a few more particle accelerators here. I needed one more to make nuclear pasta. I've got one over the other side of the space elevator making nuclear pasta for the space elevator, but I needed nuclear pasta here to go towards the singularity cells. One of the items that I need to belt in is coal, which I would need to make diamonds in the particle accelerator. You do need quite a lot of coal for it, so in a moment, yeah, there you can see that I need 600 per minute, which is a lot, but I knew there's some coal from the very northwest of the map that I've got belted in and making a whole bunch of diamonds here. Turned out that wasn't quite enough, so I've got some more coal being belted in, and that will be used to make the dark matter crystals as well. I could feel the end of this challenge getting closer and closer. I knew there were only just a few more little bits and pieces that I would need to do in order to make the ballistic warp drives, such as getting more SAM ore here to get reanimated SAM. I would need that to go towards some of the other items in the ballistic warp drives, but finally there's ballistic warp drives being made, and so it's just a case of flushing away anything that I didn't need there, as well as just waiting for ages. But that number there, 6,044, is how many fix-it coupons I believe you would need in order to complete the game. Now, making 6,044 coupons would be absolutely insane to try and do. Once you get one coupon, the amount of sync points that you need for the next coupon increases at an exponential rate. There's even an achievement in Satisfactory where you have to buy the golden nut, and that takes 1,000 coupons, and that's difficult enough as it is already, but imagine trying to make 6,000. But anyway, here is phase 5 completed and the game finished. I've got some items in a chest here that I've got left over. I feel like, because it's not a huge number of items, I feel like I couldn't really have done it much more efficiently. I wouldn't be surprised though if maybe there was something that I missed and actually the number of fix-it coupons that you would need isn't quite that high, but I can't imagine it would be a number that would be much less than 6,044, maybe around 6,000 maybe. But otherwise this was a fun challenge to do, to try and figure out exactly how much I would need. Thank you very much for watching. I shall see you in the next video where I try another challenge.